General public should be aware that this open meeting is being recorded and streamed live. Let's see, what else we got to do? We're going to talk about members participating remotely. Myself, all members of the board of the zoning board are participating remotely. That would be myself, Mr. Baker Sr., Mr. Baker Jr., Mr. Tanzi, and Mr. Galley. All right. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Got a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
There we go. Got a second. Roll call. Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Sr.
Yes.
Nice haircut, sir. Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Get a haircut, sir. Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. And for the fifth, I'm going to go to Mr. Galley.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to read the legal advertisement. 6:30 p.m. remotely conducted continuance public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on an application for a comprehensive permit dated January 21st, 2022, filed with the town clerk on January 24th, 2022 to redevelop the existing Holy Family School into 27 affordable housing units for the elderly on the property to be known as and numbered 6 Delpreet Ave, Rockland, Massachusetts, containing 38,888 square feet, more or less, plus an access easement of approximately 813 square feet, all known as the project. The applicant Schoolhouse Apartments Rockland Limited Partnership is proposing that all 27 of the rental units be classified as affordable housing units for the elderly pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, and its implementing regulations. The project is located at 403 Union Street, Rockland, Massachusetts, as shown on the Rockland Assessors Map number 34, parcel 157, and is situated in the R4 zoning district. The owner of the property is Roman Catholic Archbishop of Boston, 66 Brooks Drive, Braintree, Massachusetts, 02184. The project application, narrative plans, and reports may be reviewed by appointment in the offices of the zoning board of appeals with the regulatory coordinator or at the town clerk's office located in the Rockland Town Hall. That's it. All right, welcome everybody. So let's see, since this is the first meeting back and we've got full-size plans and everything, who for the applicant, who's taking the lead?
Rob, Mike Feely.
Mike Feely, what's going on, sir?
Pretty good. I don't think I can do better than what you just did for an intro, but Mike Feely and Ed Doherty of Doherty Law Offices, and we're representing Schoolhouse Apartments Rockland Limited Partnership in our application for comprehensive permit under Chapter 40B for the redevelopment of the parochial school, the Holy Family parochial school, into 27 units of affordable housing for the elderly. The project site's currently owned by the Roman Catholic Church, and it's going to be subdivided and owned by the applicant. Tonight, we're here with the applicant is an affiliate of the developer. The developer is Connolly and Partners, LLC, and they're represented here tonight by William Connolly, managing partner of Connolly and Partners, LLC, Jennifer Connolly, director of community development for Connolly and Partners, excuse me, Brad McKenzie of McKenzie Engineering, Austin Chartier from McKenzie Engineering, Dan Riccarelli and Julia Moradian of Seeger Architects, Michael D'Angelo of MDLA Landscape Architects, Donna Burke Smith, who's the senior property manager for FHRC Management Corporation, and she'll be speaking to the construction management plan. The snow management plan. Seamus Finney, senior general superintendent for EH&M Construction Company, and he will be speaking to the construction management plan. As you may or may not have received, we received the peer review this afternoon from Pat Brennan, and the comments were great. We're glad that we got his input, and certainly, you know, nothing in there was unreasonable, and we commit to doing all of them. And I think they may have been part of our plans already, but we certainly commit to do them. And that's about it. I'd like to just turn it over to our engineers, who we have a presentation to give. And I guess take it away. Is it Austin or is it Brad?
Yeah, Austin Chartier, McKenzie Engineering Group here. I don't know if we want to share any plans, or I can just give a brief overview and then we can kind of go from there.
Julia, are you here? Go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. I need to be able to share my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so since the last hearing, we prepared a couple additional plans. We prepared a signage and pavement marking plan. We prepared a snow removal plan, a construction management plan, and some minor revisions to just what was discussed at the meeting.
Mhm.
So, overall, I can just quickly run through, the site and highlight what changed. So, yeah, at the last hearing, there was some questions about formal filing with both the state and the local conservation commission. We did research basically the site and surrounding areas, and there's no resource areas that are jurisdictional under the Wetland Protection Act. So the project does not require filing with conservation. So we provided a letter to the conservation agent, which is here. I don't need to get into it, but just, the property is not within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission.
Did anybody
Next.
reach out to the Conservation Commission chair? He's the one who put that in there. I know Mike was gonna reach out to him and get his opinion on it.
I sent this to him, and I didn't get a reply back, but
Yeah, I think one of the questions was that maybe stormwater leaving the site eventually may end up in a wetland, which is very common, but does not require a filing. The property is basically exempt under the 40B regulations that, there's nothing to file essentially.
Mhm. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. We knew this from day one, but it's just
Right.
to see that was a little disturbing.
Yeah.
So if you get something back from it, and if you do get something back from him, please let us know. If you can forward, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the Conservation Commission chair would forward us that information as well. But if you do happen to get something, forward that to us. And if it comes down to it, I'll make some phone calls myself, because we all know that it doesn't need it's exempt at this point. So it would just be a period on the sentence. You know what I mean?
yeah, Rob, I will track him down tomorrow and make sure he's got everything and try to get some sort of comment from him.
Sounds good, Mike. I appreciate that. Austin, I'm dead. Mr. Chartier, I'm sorry. I did not mean to bug in like that. Please continue.
No, that's fine. This is all kind of in response to the previous meeting. So anytime, feel free to jump in. So this is just obviously the existing conditions plan. You can go to the next slide here. Yeah. So the frontage for our site is on Del Prete Ave. Form A filing to create this separate lot. I continue on. This is the next slide. So we are creating a surplus of parking spaces on the site, both in terms of the zoning requirements and just, the church's requirements as part of agreeing to this project. So we're creating an additional 3 spaces on the site, I believe. And as part of our back and forth with the church, we're going to have some kind of visitor spots on the west side. If you're looking at the screen here, that'll be for the church on Sundays, and events for the church. They can utilize these spaces. Next slide. Actually, you can go to the next slide too. And one more, please. So as part of the last hearing, there was some confusion on, whether the church was going to be utilizing these spaces kind of unknowingly. So we're going to propose some signage around the site, as well as differentiate the spaces shown here in red. There was going to be yellow parking spaces. So there'll be some sort of visual differential between church spaces and the apartment houses. So this was a new sheet that we added. Next slide. And we also prepared this construction management plan. I think Seamus Finney of EH&N Construction, who's going to be the site supervisor, can speak to this a little bit more. We prepared it, but it was under his expertise.
And he prepared the plan and we put it onto this plan, as we were asked to do at the last meeting. Seamus, are you here?
I'll take that as a no.
I take that as a no.
Well, I can briefly speak to it. I mean,
I'm
essentially,
here.
Seamus
I'm
is
here.
here.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Out there. That's okay.
Hello, everybody. As per the plan, as you can see, we've set up site fences around the entire property to keep the building enclosed, and that'll also be netted in with construction gates on each end, a man gate going to the parking lot, another man gate going to the parking lot on the other side. We have riprap in the front with silt socks to control any sediment off the site. 1 second here. Security, we have temp fencing, temp security lighting. Structures undergo construction alterations, demolition operations, including those in underground, will comply with all Chapter 16 safeguarding. All overall fire safety program will be developed with the local fire department. Traffic control plans, we have all that set to control traffic with construction and neighbors. We'll manage all traffic and coordinate with all neighboring properties. Site management, regular trash and debris removal, all the dumpsters will be enclosed in the fence. We will have chutes from the second floor down during demolition. Noise control, we're going to try not to do any noisy work before 8 o'clock in the morning. Rodent control, will have an extermination company on site and have a whole process set up for that. Snow removal during construction will be done by laborers on site inside the construction area, and the exterior will be done by a company. Material deliveries will all be coordinated inside the fence. No deliveries out on the streets. Erosion control, I already spoke about. We'll have silt socks and everything set up for any runoff. We have a construction staging area. Parking will be right outside the fence for all employees in construction parking, so nobody will be on the street. Construction signage, we'll have all necessary signage around the fences posted with contact people such as myself, so anybody can get a hold of us at any time. That's basically it.
Nice, well thought out plan. Can I ask a quick question? When it comes to material deliveries, big, larger truck deliveries, we're not talking about, just everybody's pickup truck. How are you guys going to access the site? Are you coming in through Union Street? Are you coming in through, let's say, Exchange and down Delpre? That would be going to Seamus, and Seamus is muted.
Seamus,
Rob, I can handle that question. That's something that Seamus's office would coordinate with the police department for their preferred truck routes into the location.
Okay, as long as the PD is okay with that, that's a great answer.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we got that. That was a good addition to the plan set. Mr. Chartier, where do you want to go from here?
I think the next is the landscape revisions. We basically prepared a full set here. I think Michael might be here from MDLA.
Yes, this is Mike Rettenmeyer from MDLA, representing our firm. Thanks, Austin.
Yep.
So Mike, if you want to, please just take us through the plan.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so what we have here in our permit set is our planting plan, as well as a lighting and photometrics plan. Up on the screen is our planting plan. So you could see around the proposed parking area, we've included street trees, planted islands where possible across from the main entry. Closer to the center, like the center of the building at the main entrance, we've provided shrub and perennial massing to create a nice visual entry. There's some seating options for residents as well. Going towards Delpre, which is on the right side of your plan, we've included a linear grouping of shade trees, as well as a mix of pedestrian circulation along the drop-off, some seating opportunities at that entrance, And then with this being a residential building, we wanted to provide some different options for gathering outside. So you could see the circular area with a water feature, some smaller bench areas just to the left there, as well, with some raised perennial garden beds. And again, we've sort of planted with shrubs and perennials around the limits, around the fence that goes along that property line as well. So we've added some nice visual interest to the streetscape along Del Pre, and then as well as within the parking area in the main entry. But again,
This is substantial. This is one of the better landscape plans we've seen presented.
Thank you. But the goal is just to create a nice experience for the people that live there, as well as any visitors to the site, and just the general neighborhood. So there'll be year-round interest between the different perennials and evergreen shrubs and that type of plant material. On the next sheet, this is our photometrics plan. All of our fixtures are dark sky compliant. There's fixtures mounted to the building that illuminate the parking spaces directly adjacent to the main entry. We've included 2 parking lot pole lights in the parking islands directly above. Thank you for running the cursor there. And then along the pedestrian walkways on the lower side of the page, we've included bollard lighting, and then there's a large seat wall in the gathering space towards the center of the building that has bench, low lighting as well, just to safely illuminate any pedestrian walkways. And then we've minimized any light spill over the property lines with how these lights have been located. And on the next sheet are just some cut sheets of those fixtures, I believe. So you can see the circular light is the bench lighting. We have the bollard light to the right of that. And then the building mounted lighting there and the pole lights are all of the same family. So LED lighting, full cutoff, and just simple fixtures to not draw too much attention.
Well done.
I believe that should be it from the landscape side of things. So thank you.
I'd like to get back to Pat Brennan's letter. I was wondering if Austin, could you give it your general feeling as an engineer, your feeling to that letter?
Yeah, overall, the comments are very minor in nature in terms of the 2 comments were basically upgrade existing catch basins that are going to be altered to provide a 4-foot sump, and as well as an oil trap or a hood over the outlet, which is pretty common practice in general. So we would definitely be upgrading all the drainage infrastructure that is altered and improved to basically capture anything else new on site. And also, because of the proposed change around the building, we're actually decreasing the runoff because we're providing some infiltration beds, not necessarily infiltration beds, but landscaping features, and basically just decreasing the impervious cover around the building. Today, the pavement kind of runs right up to it. So none of the comments necessarily really require, it would just be, they will be addressed in the next submittal moving forward, I suppose.
Simple note would suffice.
Right, exactly.
I do have one question for you, Mr. Chartier. When it comes to the catch basins that are existing, do you know if they're deep sump or if they're just old school catch basins with nothing?
Yeah, I've been out there and I did inspect some of them. From what I saw there, most of them don't have sumps, or not 4-foot sumps. A couple of them do have 2 feet sumps, but they're full of stuff. So obviously, as part of this work, there will be some cleaning of pipes and structures that will take place.
Okay.
So anything that's really getting altered on our site is going to be improved to bring in basically compliant structures.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be some altering because the grading is changing off the building. So it'll definitely be an improvement to what's there.
Definitely, definitely. I think you guys knew about it. I'm not sure if the applicant or the team members for the applicant knew about this, but no, we did. We talked about this the last time. We were gonna have a site meeting. We did put together a site meeting for all that were involved or all that were curious. Myself and Mr. Galley, I want to applaud you for showing up, sir. Thank you very much. It gave everybody that showed up, it gave us a very good picture of what this site is. Looking at it on paper, yeah, you can see the contour lines, you can see the grades. But until you get out there, you really don't notice that it's the grade from one side to the other. And I'm not sure what scale this plan is, but that's a 30 scale plan. Where are you? You are, yeah, you're about a 3% slope from one side to the other. That's a pretty steep slope from up at the church all the way down. My number may be skewed a little bit, but I had no idea that there was that much slope going down. And my big question after that site meeting was, even after the modification of the the drainage, is this going to keep up with the site? Because I don't know what goes on Delpreet Ave. I don't know if that gets flooded out, or I don't know what happens over there. I'd love for somebody from the public to tell me what goes on over there, if there is any drainage concerns. Because when you look at the grading, when you're standing out there, you've got a giant swath that goes behind the building. And there's a lot of modification going on over there. I know we're putting in a catch basin and drain line and stuff like that. I just want to make sure this is all going to work, and Pat seems to think that it is. So I'm happy with that. But does anybody local know about the drainage in this area? Has it ever been a problem?
Rob, if I may.
Yeah, please, Mr. Baker. I'm glad you spoke up.
On the many years that I've worked with the highway department, we've never had a problem with flooding down there
Okay.
in that area. When we did Exchange Street and all those roads over, we did check the basins and the flow, and we had the pipes cleaned, the basins cleaned, rebuilt, and the flow was good down there.
Okay. So that makes me feel a lot better about what was going on down there. The other thing that came out while we were on site, and again, is seeing it on the plan, I could see it definitely. But the existing sewer line for the rectory and the church go directly under the schoolhouse, go under the schoolhouse building. Are we going to change that?
Yeah, I think there is a plans in place to change that.
Okay, 'cause nothing that I've seen so far shows that that's going to be changed. And just knowing that it's in something new. Somebody saying something new.
Yes, it's in the new one. Yeah, I gotta find it, Rob.
All right, 'cause I'm going through the plans right now, and I'm still seeing nothing that shows that that's going to get changed.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Dan from Seeger Architects. We did know that was going underneath. We talked to, I think it's Greg who was on site, and that has been cleaned and taken care of over the years. But our ideal situation is to have that removed. And we're waiting to see once we get in there, because it is buried under the slab, to find out what it is, what the condition is and everything.
My concern is the sheer fact that it's going to be under different ownership.
Yeah.
I would almost prefer to see this piped around the building, throw another manhole in there, assuming that the grades will work, which I'm pretty sure that they will. Throw another manhole in, come down through the center, come down through the parking lot, and then tie back into the sewer line. That way it's completely away from and not being underneath the building, because based on what I'm seeing here, it's also this, is that also the same sewer pipe for the school? Is that all tied into the same?
We believe so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I preliminary, to your point, Rob, I preliminary looked at the grades and you can make the inverts work exterior for a connection that, would be reviewed by DPW.
Understood. I mean, it makes way more sense to get it out from underneath the building, at least the main line for the two other buildings. It doesn't make sense. Do we know, just out of curiosity, do we know where the sewerage for the other buildings, the office building and the two other office buildings that are on site? Because I don't see that on the plan.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Austin, do you know?
Yeah, I believe they do tie in to that manhole that kind of runs into our building. We have a few pipes out of there. We couldn't necessarily confirm where they go, but I believe they all come on to that. Come online on that sewer manhole.
That definitely needs to be looked at.
Yep.
I would say that keep the church buildings and, unto themselves, and the schoolhouse building unto itself. That way there's separate not services, but there's a separate sewer line for each address, if you will. I think that would end up where I do believe that would end up working better. Same thing with the water service. Do we know where? Let me see. I'm at the grading and utility plan. I see the existing gas service, which is already good. I see the 6-inch ductile iron water service for the schoolhouse. Do we know if there's any, again, gas or water for the other buildings on site that are going to come through this?
I believe they come from Union
Union
the
Street?
church and the other buildings. Yeah.
Okay, because I see a water line. It's a water line stub off because we don't know where it's going. I see that coming on the north side of the property from Delpreet, and then a dead end. So I'm assuming there's a water line coming that way. It would be nice to figure out where all that stuff is going, because again, if for some reason it is coming through the piece that's getting cut off, you are going to need separate easements for that. So I'd like to make sure that it's 100% away from the piece the piece of property as it's getting cut out. So further utility work based on records that are available. I'm not saying go get a GPR unit and try to do subsurface, subsurface work like that. Just with records that are available, if we can figure this out, I'd like to see that, just to make sure that everything stays with each piece of property. So those are concerns that definitely came out at the site meeting.
Rob, if I may,
Yes, please.
sheet C2, grading and utility plans.
Grading and sheet C2, that's what I'm looking at. Yep.
Okay. It says retain existing gas service. It shows it on coming off of Delpreet.
Yep, that's what I said.
Replacing the 5-inch clay with 6-inch CI saw.
Yeah, but the problem is that we believe that it sounds like
It
that.
does. I talked to the saw superintendent today.
Yeah.
That pipe does go underneath the school and will have to be replaced because it's clay pipe.
Yeah.
And they want that out from under the school and tied into the existing line on Delpreet.
Perfect. So repeating exactly what I already said.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So they're gonna have to get a hold of the store superintendent and
Yeah.
work something out with them.
No, it's understood. And I don't know if just replacing that pipe would cause a meeting with the sewer commissioners or anything like that, but revising a connection that may
Yes.
do that, that may cause a, you know, a reason to go to the sewer commission. So either way, Mr. Feely, can you make a kind of reach out to the sewer commissioners?
Absolutely.
All right. That way we can get the if for some reason you do need to make set up a meeting with the commissioners, we can get that on schedule. And Mr. Chartier, if you can, I would say if you can come up with some sort of design to get that pipe out from under the building, and keep that separate, that would be cool. Is that something that we can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes sense. We were aware of that it currently did that. So, I think, like you said, the change in ownership, it was on our radar that it might come up where you can't take it into someone else's building.
Perfect. Because we did that. I did reach out specifically to the chairman of the planning board just to get his feel on it, because again, with 40Bs, we are the planning board. I just wanted to make sure that he was up to snuff with what was going on here. One of his main concerns was making sure that there's separate utilities for each section, that the schoolhouse has their own utilities, that the church, the remainder of the church compound is all, has its own things, has all its own utilities. So that's something that's definitely going to have to be addressed. And everybody that I've talked to so far said that sewer line needs to be adjusted to some degree. Who's the other thing?
Would they have to show drainage easements, utility easements? If
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's another thing that I talked to the chairman of the planning board about. When it comes to the A&R plan, we're going to have to show, and we are going to have to list on the A&R plan all the waivers and all the variance requests. So they have, I'm trying to make it a slam dunk for the planning board, so they have no questions whatsoever. Because one of the first things that they always look at is variances and waiver requests. And if they're not on the face of the plan, they're going to come back to me and say, well, where are they and what did they ask for? I'd rather know that they're all on the face of the A&R plan. That way it makes it a lot easier for them. So in the end, if it comes down to it, we're going to need a sewer. There's the potential for a sewer easement to the church. We're going to need an overall drainage easement for the site that allows the drainage as it stands. Basically, that the remainder of the church property is still allowed to drain over and across the schoolhouse property. That's number 2. Number 3, there's going to need to be access easements. And granted, that's probably just down the main, that main thoroughfare, because I'm assuming that somehow, some way, church patrons are going to be somehow they're going to end up going down there. If you don't want them going down there, then again, we have to look at the signage plan again. But if they are going to be allowed, there's going to have to be an access easement. And after that, we can review it. But I think the attorneys involved kind of understand where I'm going. So I'm sure they'll put together a comprehensive easement document that puts this all together. But again, that's something that I was talking to the planning board chairman about. Like I said, I just want to make it go simple and smoothly. So those are a couple of things that we got to look at. When it comes to parking, it was brought up that get to the existing conditions plan here. Where are we? Not that one, not that one. The existing conditions plan. Primarily, these spots are 9 by 18. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe the
Okay.
proposed are 9 by 18.
Okay. Do we kind of know what's going on with the rest of the site?
As far as
Yes.
parking, Rob? I mean,
Yeah, as far as parking, kind of, average on that, because it's typically when we're looking at 9x18, that's a reduced parking, parking stall.
Yep.
So we look at that 70-30, 70% conforming, the 30% to reduce size. So I just want to see where we are in that. And I know we did a parking count or a parking, I'm trying to see where it is. I don't know what plan we did it on, but I know we did a parking table. I'm pretty sure we did a parking table
we did a
someplace.
parking table. It's on. it's on the
Parking
site.
summary or something.
Yeah. That's the church's parking spaces.
Yeah, I think they're all about 9x18 out there.
Okay, so primarily we're dealing with nothing but reduced size spaces.
Correct.
So in redoing the spaces by providing the 9x18, we're really not changing anything. We're just changing the location of some of these spaces.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure on that. Okay, I've talked too much. Who wants to talk next? Mr.
Well-
Charlie, I busted in on you. Do you have anything else that you want to go over, sir?
No, I think so. There is going to be some sort of, and I think Mike Feely can speak to it. There's some sort of reciprocal easement going in here that basically says, they kind of the whole property is going to be under an easement for shared use, kind of, is my understanding. That's kind of in the language of something.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, we're working on, working with the Archdiocese on a license agreement specifically to add more parking spaces for their use when they have overflow,
Okay.
Sunday mass, Saturday mass, religious holidays. And it is on the west side, those 6 spaces, I don't have a cursor access, but the 6 spaces on the left side right there.
Okay.
And we're working on it. We're pretty close to finalizing. As you can imagine, the hours need to go, what are the busiest hours, when do you need it, that sort of thing. And then we'll have signage to show that.
It works. Let me see.
So that's where we're at. We're pretty close on that.
I appreciate that. That's good. I knew that was going to be one of the main sticking points. All right.
Rob, quick
With that-
question.
Yep, Mr.
Quick
Baker.
question. The shared parking. Is this in the overlay district that they can have off-site parking? Remember we put in that overlay district up in the
No, it's
square?
not. No, it's not in here.
It starts from there?
No, it's not. It's not in.
Before that?
Yeah, it's all just along Webster Street.
Down Webster Street.
Yeah.
So we don't want to hear about shared parking.
At this point, it really comes down to once we take out all the parking spaces, does the church have what they need? Mr. Chartier, I'm coming to you. Once
Yes,
you
they
take
have an
out-
excess of parking. The shared space is not anything required by zoning.
Mhm.
It is just simply to be a good neighbor type of thing.
Then I want to hear about it all day.
Right.
You're being a good neighbor. You're offering extended parking to the next door neighbor. As long as the only time that comes into play is when the minimum required number of spaces cannot be met on site. If it
Okay.
can be met on site, it's out the door. If the next door neighbor wants to allow extra parking, I'm all for it.
Yes.
Well, we'll work with them to give them as much parking as they possibly can have.
Oh, absolutely. No, it only makes sense. Mr. Baker, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. All right, one more before, okay, I don't want to keep talking too much, but we went over all right, Pat Brennan's letter, we went over that. The thing from Concom, we're gonna keep looking at that a little bit. I'm not sure, did you guys see the response from the fire department? Yes, no, maybe, no.
I
did not.
haven't seen that.
I've
All
not
right,
seen it.
we'll forward that to you. I don't want to go too far into it. There's some of this is site related, but a lot of it's building related. I'll ask Deb's on. Deb, you're here, right? assuming she's.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Deb, can you do me a favor? Can you
Yes.
forward the fire department letter to the applicant's team? The applicant and team, did you see the comments from, let's see, police department had nothing to say. Did you see the comments from the highway department and the sewer department at this point? We've kind of already gone over it, but just to say that you have it, we'll get that to you too.
Mr. Chair, on the fire, Dan Ricciarelli, Seeger Architects, on the fire department memo, how old is that memo? Because I know we responded to an initial one.
I've got
Quite a while ago.
216, I've got 21622.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that one, but we did respond in total to an original one. So.
Okay, so this is, again, this is February 16th of 2022. Let me just, again, we're gonna forward it to you. Just take a look at it. If it is already redundant, then, if it's redundant, then we're not worried about it. But just to say that you have it in your hands, that's really where I'm going with it, just to make sure I know that you guys have seen it.
Sounds great.
But that's out. We're not talking about that anymore. Pat Brennan is good. We've talked about, okay, Deb's gonna forward you the Form K from Highway and Sewer, which is all in one memo, so that's out. Okay. Now I've officially talked way too much. I'm gonna open this back up to the board. Is there any way we can unshare the screen? Just so I can see.
Take this off if possible.
Yeah, I just want to see who we're talking to. All right, I'm going to open this up to the board. Mr. Baker Senior, you've done a lot of talking thus far. What else you got, sir?
Just two quick things on the parking plan.
Please.
I know it's not your problem. The church parking out by Union Street.
Church parking out by Union Street. Let me just, so I know what we're all talking about. Let me get to my existing conditions. Okay.
The middle parking, are they gonna be able to go out Union Street?
No, that parking will go out Del Preet.
Yeah, but the angle of the parking is they're gonna be backing into each other. People by the church are gonna back out. The people, they have to back out and drive up that lane.
Julia, can we show
Or they
that
have to
again?
go out forward.
Actually, yeah, show the not the traffic management plan. What is this? The traffic
Flow.
Yeah.
That's it's one-way parking there, so you pull in head first, you back out, you keep going, kind of thing. I think we had talked about this at the last meeting. Father Hickey might have spoke to way back when they planned that. They wanted the traffic going out on Del Preet, not turning out onto Union. So there's no access out onto Union.
See how these center ones are? They're gonna have to come in on the
left-hand side. Yep.
and face out. And then the people over here, because now there's no lines up there anyway, but people come out of that out front more than they go out back.
Well, when it comes to signage, do we put
I know,
any?
yeah, I saw the one-way do not enter down at the islands there, at the backside of the church.
What I'm gonna recommend then is that up at that section, we throw in a couple of extra signs.
One way.
Yeah, just say one way, either
One way going in.
or point at, somehow pointing into the site, do not enter, or enter only, or something like that. Mr. Chartier, you can come up with something.
You can
Yeah,
put a
I'm sure
one-way
that's-
sign up the top
Sure.
All
on
right, so
Union
then,
Street going in.
that covers that.
Yeah,
Plus, it's an existing condition. We really can't touch it. We really can't touch it.
The other one was over by the Rectory. There's a driveway there. You have an arrow coming in. Is there gonna be access to be able to go out that
No, and that's really not a main entrance anyway. That's kind of, right, it's for the rectory almost. It doesn't get as much use as the other entrance. But no,
It does,
same
it does
situation.
on, it does on church days.
Right, but so they will
They all
exit on Del
Take
Pre as
out that
well.
way to get around. I think we gotta have a do not enter there too. So they can only come in one way and not be able to go out.
Mr. Feely, we're adding a couple extra signs off the, off the subdivided property. Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to talk with the church, obviously, but,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right, too. I'm sorry. Nope, forget it. We can't, they can't do it.
No, Mr. Baker, you have a point. You have 100% point.
Yeah.
And the idea is to look at the situation as it is, look at the changes that are being proposed, and mitigate any possible issues that could arise. If that's what it comes down to, and the applicant's willing to do it, and Father Hickey says, go for it, I don't think that's a problem.
I noticed, because I'm up there cleaning the square and plowing and all that stuff, that traffic does come out that, and that traffic light right there at North Ave, they're trying to go across 3 lanes
Oh, yeah.
to get out to the left, to take a left or a right, and it's kind of tough.
Oh, yeah, I'll be the first one to tell you, I've done it myself, waiting for Chinese food on New Year's Eve. You go to Spicy Edamame, they got no parking. So the only thing that you can do is you park in the church parking lot. And then when you get your food, you take out. And if you're going to my house, you're taking a left. So I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I can't say that I'm not. But in a situation like this, if we can kind of correct a problem or a possible issue, then, and if everybody's happy with it, then I say go for it. Applicant seems fine. We just have to talk to Father Hickey about it. And I don't think he's going to have a problem with it.
just to clarify, Rob,
Yes.
you're asking for a do not enter on the Exchange Street side? Or-
No, we're
No.
we're looking for the driveway in front of the rectory. That's number one. We'd want to see like a do not enter, or something, something along those lines, a do not enter
Yeah.
facing into the site.
Yeah.
And then the same thing on the other side of the parking lot, because
One way.
yeah, but like a one
Right
way
at
or
the
a do not
entrance.
enter facing into the site or something like that. Whatever's the least intrusive, but still visible to the people that are going to break that, that are going to potentially break that issue.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think we talked last time with Father Hickey, and I just want to confirm with him because there may be special masses which use that might be kind of distracting for people. I mean, this functions today, from what I understand. So I just want to get clarity from him that the signs won't be confusing people. If
Yep, and that's why I said we have to talk to Father
funerals or
Hickey
whatever.
about it.
Yeah, we'll talk to Father Hickey tomorrow and get a clarification.
He's the when it comes to offsite, he's the man at this point. I
Mhm.
don't think it's going to be an issue, but it's just to make sure that we're taking care of a possible issue. That's really what it comes down to. So,
All right.
Mr. Baker, Senior, do you got anything else, sir?
One other thing, I just
Please.
want to say that this submittal is the best one that I've seen since I've been on the board. It's easy to read, it's easy to follow, and other developers should take note of this.
Sounds like
It was a very
McKinsey
good
Engineering is going to get a lot of work.
Thank you. That was very nice of you.
Oh, that's great.
Good job.
Well,
Austin.
That's all.
What I'm gathering is that at some point, we're obviously going to have another meeting, but you'd like to have the full set done again, or just some of these tweaks that we're talking about?
And just anything at this point, I would say any plan that requires that's going to require a modification. If it shows up on one plan and also shows up on another plan, we're going to need both of them. That's really what it comes down to. I think we can probably get away with, and we'll talk to we'll discuss this with the board to make sure, but I think we can get away with 11 by 17s as opposed to full size at this point. Because there's minor modifications on just about everything. So if we can deal with, even if it comes down to 11 by 17s and anything that got revised, colorize it, make it a green or make it a blue so it stands out. You know what I mean?
Clouded or something.
Yeah, just something simple. Board members that are here, does 11 by if you need paper, does 11 by 17 work, Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So 11 by 17s in place of full-size plans. Does that work for the applicant and everybody?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right, board members, we're good with it. Mr. Galley, we're good with it. Yes. Tansy, all right. So that, I think that helps cut down the cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, these will be marked as revisions and we will colorize what exactly has changed.
Yeah, just so we're able to look at it, and actually one other person I need to talk to, Mr. Rubel. I know I see you looking at plans for anything that's revised. Are you okay with 11 by 17s, a smaller version of the plan?
Yes, 11 by 17 would be fine for me.
Okay, and then before we keep going here, we've talked to all the other professionals. I want to make sure that before I continue with the board, Mr. Rubel, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I would just like to have that drawing up at the screen again with the occupancy loads.
Julia, can we put it back up? Thank you. The occupancy loads, are you talking about on the site plan?
The occupancy loads on the
Yeah,
first, the
yep.
main floor, lower floor, and the chorus.
Is that site plan or architectural plan?
I think it would have been the arc.
No, it's on this site plan here, I believe, the loads.
I think the occupancy loading, I think that might be the architectural.
Yeah,
For the church and the whole site, or?
for the church.
Yeah, I think it's on that plan you just had.
All right, where are we looking?
Okay, there it is.
So yeah, that basically says, based on square footages of the buildings on site, they need 100 spaces. They have 136 spaces.
Yeah, those are the spaces. I'm looking at the actual physical occupancy load for inside the church.
Like
which
structurally,
which regulates the parking.
Oh, yeah, it's under
486.
41535 D1. They require a parking space for every 12 seats. And they have the, when we did that calculation, we had the upper church and the lower church capacity put in there.
Okay,
And then it's one for every church official and, one for every 2 employees and one for every church official. And then as we go down to the rectory in the building, that, I guess there's 2 in there. And the professional office buildings or the outbuildings there are done via square footage. And there's 13 spaces for that. And that's 1 per every 250 square feet. So
Are you having issues with that calc?
yeah, could I see the narrative or the scratch sheets on that, on how you came up with those occupancy loads?
yeah, we can provide that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there's going to be some back and forth. So if we can just provide that to Deb, and then Deb will forward that on to Mr. Rubel. What else you got, sir? You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm all set.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. All right, can we unshare the screen again, just so I can see who we're dealing with? There we go. All right, Mr. Baker Senior, we talked. Mr. Tansy, you're up next.
Yeah, I don't have any comments or questions. Delpreet Ave, that wasn't paved within the last 5 years, right?
Yes, it was.
Is there a moratorium on that for opening it?
Austin, can you answer that? It's on a state road. right?
Yes,
I don't know when it was last paved, so I'm not aware of any moratorium on it.
Generally,
There's
5
an-
years, I thought was a state road, not a public road, small public road. But
Delpreet?
yeah, the 5-year moratorium, I think is when state roads. I don't know if it's for a small public
No, it would be
street.
for private road. It would, if the town can have their own, moratorium. So that's something we'd have to talk to, unless Mr. Baker, unless you know 100%. We'll have to talk to Highway on that one.
when we did the overrides, they put in the override that once the road was completed, it could not be open for anything but emergencies for 5 years moratorium.
All right, well, we're gonna have to get specific dates then. And if it comes down to the exact minute, I'm gonna wanna see it. Because this is a good thing here. I mean, if that's gonna be one thing that's gonna stand in the way, and that's not a zoning issue, I don't think we can waive that. But that's something that we need.
Mr. Roser, it's Bob Galvin.
Attorney Galvin, how you doing, sir?
Good. The answer is you would have the authority to waive that. Okay.
Good.
Because you were acting in your official capacity as the zoning board highway department as well. So you would obviously want Mr. Taylor's perspective on it, but
Yes.
the reality is you have the authority to waive it. And the only thing that I was going to add to the discussion so far is it might be nice just to have a summary of the waivers that are requested, or, an explanation.
Those were, they were part of our initial filing and they weren't changed, so they remain part of our initial filing. We actually have, I think we have those available. Do we have those available, Julia?
Yeah, they will probably, if you haven't made any changes, it's probably still a part of the filing. 'Cause you did.
It's a part of the filing.
Yeah.
They haven't been changed since the first filing.
Remind me, did we go over each and every one when we did this at the first meeting? I don't think we did.
We did.
Usually Pat Brennan reviews them and makes a recommendation to the board as to whether to grant them.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's looking at this as a very, very minor site. So it's one of the things. I can't say that he's looked at it and looked at that end of it. But in the end, if we want to just, can we pull up the waivers? Can we go over those real quick?
Julia, there? Oh, no. It's not in this plan, but it's in the, it was in a separate sheet.
Yeah, I think it was like the second or third to last page, I thought, from the original submission.
In the original submission, so that's tough. Let me see if I can. Julia, I don't think it's gonna be part of this presentation. It'll be part of the first one.
Yeah, page 7.
If you don't have that, I can probably find it.
Oh, this is good. Now it's a race to see who can come up with it first.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a long download. Uh-oh.
If you're on the Town of Rockland website, it's just a file called 6 Delcrete Ave.
Downloading it right now. Oh, there it is. Now I gotta find it.
Start with page 76 on the PDF.
76.
Well, 75 is the chapter, Exhibit 1, requested waivers.
Applicable sections of the Town of Rockland zoning bylaw pertinent to this application. I got it first. I win. You get a free confession next Sunday. That's my prize.
I just saw when you were right there.
There it is.
And Austin, can we go through this a little bit?
Yeah, so we just went through the zoning bylaws and anything that basic, like, so, yeah, your parking space size that we got into a little bit, we have that in there.
Yeah, there's not, if we had just because again, we're in public meeting, I just want to go through every single one so everybody understands. This is one of the things that a lot of people want to talk about when it comes to other 40Bs. So if we can nip this in the bud now for this application, at least we can say that. The
So
first
yeah, I
one.
can run through.
Yeah, if you
run
can,
through
if you
the
can run through every
exemptions.
single one, starting at the first, and then just take care of it.
Yep, so regulation 41522 in the R4 zoning district, they require 3,670 square feet per dwelling. And we are per 4 dwellings, sorry, that didn't come out right, but so we are requesting 22.3 units per 32,670 square feet. And that's just the 27 units on the size of the lot. Regulation 41522, minimum side yard setback 15 feet. The existing building there today is 10.62 feet, so we're not making it any worse, but that's what's there. 41522A.
Before you stop there, let me just, I'm gonna pull up the existing conditions so I know what we're looking at, or I know what we're referring to. Where specifically on the building are we looking?
So that's gonna be on the south side of the building if you're looking at the plan. Adjacent to kind of where it jigs out a little bit. Yep, down there. So if you went to the existing condition plan, we have it dimensioned. Or we should have it dimensioned.
Should have dimensions. I'm on existing conditions. This is the new submittal. I don't see it there. It is an existing condition. All right, I'm not saying that it's not. So there really, there's nothing there's no variance required there. The only thing is that because it's because of the A&R, that's where that's coming into play. So
Right.
Attorney Galvin, do they need to request that?
Hold on a second, sorry. I was listening to the comments before about the A&R, and remember what the A&R really is intended to do here is to create a building lot. So all they really have to show is frontage and area. And they don't have to worry about zoning compliance of the lot because this is a project that really isn't going to strictly comply with zoning because it's being submitted as a 40B project. So, so the existing condition here is pre-existing non-conforming. So, I'm not sure technically whether they're not making it any worse that they needed a variance, but it doesn't comply. So it's on the list. And I think it's appropriate for it to be on this list. But this would be one that we would favorably recommend. I would be favorably recommending that the board grant.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not that I'm not worried about. It's more trying to help out the planning board in the end when they see the A&R and go, wow, that's close to the building. It's just, that's really what it's coming down to. Just making sure that all of that's on the face of the plan form.
And technically, they're not allowed to consider whether it complies with zoning other than its frontage and area. So, but if they put it on the plan, great.
It's in the end, it turns into a buildability situation. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of everything that's going on. So there's no issues going forward.
Okay.
Rob, would
Excuse me, Mike,
everything change if we're creating a new lot on the Form A,
Meaning what?
side setback and all that, the original stuff there? I'm just asking in case someone, questions it. If we have.
We would still request it. It's not, because it's not anything to do with the new lot line. It's
Right.
Right,
an existing lot.
it's existing. But where we are creating 2 new lots.
I hear where you're going.
Does the old zoning if they had variances or whatever for it, do they go out with the new lot?
Yeah, those would be abandoned, anything that had existed before, but look at the pre-existing use was exempt from zoning as a religious use or an educational use, so.
Right. Either way, I'm not too worried about it. Again, Attorney Galvin has stated that he finds it appropriate to be on the list. Mr. Chartier, I'm sorry to butt in on that. I appreciate that. Keep on, you know, keep on keeping on here.
All right, if we can pull up the list.
There we go. All right, so minimum.
The
side
next one
setback,
is
that's all taken.
parking spaces, 415-22A, 10 by 20 parking spaces for full-size vehicles. 9 by 18 is the reduced size, as you mentioned. We're doing all 9 by 18. So we're requesting an exemption.
Okay.
Regulation 415-22A2A. In all residential zones, all parking areas, loading areas, and areas used for access, egress, or on-site circulation shall be at least 10 feet from a property line, and the 10-foot setback shall be properly landscaped and maintained. There's an existing section of those visitor parking spaces that is basically it's on the roadway. It's on Del Prete Ave. So we're requesting that 10 feet be 2.22. Regulation 415-22F5D. This applies to special permits, but it says the conversions of schools. Actually, we're not requesting an exemption here, but we had listed it in case it came up. It says basically the conversions of schools in certain districts require a special permit. We're not requesting that special permit because of the 40B.
That should be subject to the comprehensive permit, the overall comprehensive permit.
Right, exactly. So the next one we're requesting is 415-22G1A. Following uses shall require submission of a traffic impact report to the planning board. Over 25 residential units, so we're requesting an exemption to not prepare that impact assessment.
No, I'm just gonna butt in real quick. I talked to Pat Brennan about this. It does meet the threshold. You know, this does meet the threshold for a traffic impact study. Again, you're asking for the exemption. The board's gonna have to talk about that as to whether they want to allow that or not.
Right.
So we'll talk about that after. Sorry to butt in. I apologize. Just wanted to take care of that.
Regulation 415-22H, consultant review. We're asking for the exemption, but it's, as part of the site plan aspect of it. Obviously, Pat Brennan has done a review, but we were filing as an exempt from it.
Yeah,
Regulation.
that would be something that we wouldn't allow.
Right.
We always need our professionals to look at that. So that is one thing that's going to have to come off the exempt.
Mr. Rosa, Attorney Galvin again. I would just recommend that we deny it, subject to, our ordinary processes. And we typically propose a condition that requires the applicant to fund peer review for construction monitoring. So Mr. Brennan would be doing that as well to assist Mr. Rubel.
Okay. Can
We'll give the applicant the draft condition that we've had in our other comprehensive permits and see if they are amenable to that.
Okay. So we keep this on here and say deny it?
Sure. Yeah, I can, because this is what was filed, so it's on record. But anyway, these might apply to the next two as well. Regulation 415-58. These are under site plan review article. Basically, no building, excavation, or foundation activities shall be initiated unless a site plan is first submitted and building permit issued. In the next one, very similar, 415-59, site plan review and approval, which we're, it's
You're functionally actually doing that.
correct.
Right now.
All right.
So under enforcement, 41589A, special permit shall be required to construct or otherwise establish any of the specific types of uses so identified within this bylaw, which shall be only permitted upon issuance of a special permit. That special permit just applies to the alteration of a school building. Basically, we don't need a special permit. Design Review Board article, Regulation 41593A, all commercial, industrial,
Totally
public,
lost it.
and institutional sites and or buildings which are to be constructed or altered or renovated shall be subject to review by the Design Review Board, regardless of their location in Rockland.
That's it.
And the next one, 41594B, condominium developments are subject to review by the Design Review Board.
Attorney Galvin, in the end, will you be able to just go over this and just recommend how we should deal
Yep.
with this?
Yeah, we typically would waive that because they're giving you architectural designs and the board can act as the design review entity here.
Okay.
So, that's why they gave you the renderings and the colored plans and things like that. So we'll be granting, or my recommendation is that the board grant that waiver request.
Okay. All right. So currently right now, that's the entirety of the waiver and variance request.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That works. I will ask Pat Brennan to look at this and just make sure that he's, good with it, good with all of this. And then in the end, if he feels that there are other waivers that need to be requested, Attorney Galvin, will we be able to add that or recommend that those be added to the list?
Yeah, I'll call Attorney Feely and we'll make sure that we're all on the same page on this. We can give him what a draft permit looks like, so he sees what the typical conditions would look like of an approval. So
I think that'd be very helpful. Just see
and
how these are dealt with.
and by the way, we welcome comments typically too on the draft decisions.
Thank you, John.
All right, so that kind of takes care of the exemptions. Let's see, Mr. Tanzi, we talked to you. You were okay at this point?
No, yes.
Okay. And Mr. Baker Jr., I see you down there.
Yes. Just a quick question on something we've already discussed regarding the potential exemption from the 5-year paving moratorium. Is that something that the applicant should be asked at this point to add to that list? Should it apply to them?
Good question.
Yes, the answer is yes, they should ask for that waiver.
Okay. Based on what has been submitted for this meeting and the discussion we've had up until this point, believe it or not, I have nothing to add.
It's always a good thing.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Galley's cat, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, Shelby wants to contribute. Yeah, I want to double check. Where's the property line that the schoolhouse apartments, how far does it go into the parking?
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Oh, I hear what you're saying too. It gets a little iffy when it's not colored.
I'm trying to look at the original application and I can't read it.
If you look at
read it,
look at grading and utility plan C2, it's more of a blow up. And you can kind of see better where the property line is.
Okay. Grading and utility. Okay, good. So the property line. Okay, so it goes along. It's the property line goes along the barrier where the extra church parking is.
Almost through the islands that they're the new islands that they're going to be putting together.
Okay, good. And those islands basically mark that edge of the property line.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, good, because that was, I wanted to ask, that's what I was confused about with the parking and where their property was, because I thought that was gonna be part of their property based on something else I read, unclearly. So I wanted to make sure, because I was gonna ask questions about the parking signage on that. But that answers the question, because my question is moot as far as that goes. But I do want to make a comment. We were talking about signage, like do not enter and one way on the parking plan. And their signage already has the thing about do not enter for the rectory and going into the uphill church parking with all the slanted parking spots. So their plan already mentions that do not enter on both sides, but I would strongly support a one-way entry sign at the Union Street entrance, because that would create a lot of pressure for people not to exit that way. If everyone thinks they can just come in that way, I think it would help. That's the one thing I think they've got it covered with the do not enter, but I do want to reiterate, I support a one-way street entrance, one-way sign.
You're right.
At Union Street.
Good catch, sir.
Yeah.
Very good catch.
I see that now.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It's
Steve.
off the page when we were trying to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that was that's the only thing I could think of. And because after we talked earlier about the parking, I saw it earlier with the building usage, the capacity in the parking spot. So that's the only thing I had to ask about or comment. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galley.
Austin, we thank you.
Lastly, let's see, I went through all my board members that are here. Mr. Rubel, I talked to you. Mr. Attorney Galvin, he's been very helpful. I want to address one other thing that got brought up by the planning board chairman. Talk to me about what's going to be going on top of the building when it comes to like AC units and stuff like that. What's up there right now?
Well, there's HVAC equipment and exhaust fans because
Okay.
there's no AC. But what's proposed is new air conditioning units, and it'll be behind a mechanical screen.
Okay, behind the mechanical screen.
Yeah.
Do we know
There
what
we
the
go.
mechanical screen is kind of going to look like?
It's part of the historic tax credit filing, but there it is right there. And it's set back pretty far on the roof.
Okay. Can we blow that up a little bit? I'm assuming it's just some sort of slats or something
Yeah,
like that.
It's almost like a louver.
Okay. All right. Are we gonna have to worry about excess noise up there?
No, the equipment is attenuated for sound, and so the mechanical screen will help too. So
Okay.
we always look out for that. Very cognizant of that.
All right. We have bylaws on we have zoning bylaws when it comes to the sound, I believe. If not us, then I know it's the Board of Health.
Yeah, I think it's a health code, correct?
So as long as whatever it's proposed to be meets what our Board of Health says, then we should be good to go. If not, then if you could do me a favor and just for the next meeting, just provide us with some sort of information on the noise, the noise that these, units are going to produce, and make sure that they're under what is required by the Board of Health. Does that work?
Sure, we're still under design, but I'll have my engineers send the cuts for the units.
Perfect. That's as long as we know that it works and we don't have to add another way to the list, we're golden. All right, that's all that I got at this point. Can we stop sharing the screen so I can see who else we got on the line here? Okay, is there anybody in the general public that wants to talk about this application? Hearing none, I say that we talk about, let me just get that on there. Hearing none,
Motion to continue the public hearing for 6 South Pre-Dev Schoolhouse Apartments till May 3rd at 6:30.
Deb? I want to hear from Deb only because she's
Sorry. Can't do May 3rd.
we go.
And we've got Shingle Mill on May 17th. So we can either add dates in May or we can go to June.
Mr. Feely, what's your general feeling on this? Would you go? Would you go? Would you go? Would you go?
Obviously, the earlier the better. It
Should be
does,
fine.
it does conflict with our filing for tax credits. However, there's some stuff here that needs to be done. We can get it in. Is there anything earlier than the May 3rd?
Is there anything?
What's
We have
today's
Concord
date?
Street on the 19th.
Yeah, we have Concord Street, possibly April 26th.
If
we
the
want
board's
that date.
okay with adding a third for April.
I'll amend my motion to the May 26th,
April.
April
April
26th.
26th. Mr. Chartier, you've got a lot of not a lot, but you've got some modifications that you need to make. Do you think you'll be able to have that again? If we're looking at the 26th, you have to get that into us a minimum, I'm going to say by the 19th.
19th.
Well,
Yeah, I think that should, there's nothing too substantial. I don't see it being a major issue.
and we'll get something into you for review. Does that give you, how much time does that give you, the 18th?
I mean, in the end, it only gives us if we're doing the 26th, it only really gives us about a week for review. But again, it's so minor that I don't think Pat Brennan's going to have an issue with it. I don't think again, board members, do we have an issue with a week of review? Is that okay
No.
for everybody?
Fine.
Is that fine? All right. So the board members are okay. I know Pat Brennan's going to be okay with it for with a week. Again, you're going to have to, Deb's going to forward you the fire and the highway and sewer comments. I want to make sure that that's all taken care of. Again, those were more building related. So, once you get all that, you can kind of look at it and I think if everybody's acceptable, Mr. Baker Senior, let me hear that motion again.
We'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for schoolhouse apartments until April 26th at 6:30.
Second,
Got a motion and a second. Roll call. Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes,
Mr. Tanzi,
Yes,
and where'd you go? Oh, Mr. Baker Jr. down in the bottom corner.
yes.
All right, we got a 4-man vote. Tim unfortunately is again not here, but motion carries. So there you go. Everybody's got their marching orders, correct?
Good, thank you,
very
Rob.
much.
All right,
Have a good night.
we'll see you guys in. We'll see you guys in We'll see you guys in 3 weeks. And other than that, we have a few other things that we have to take care of from the zoning board end of it. So if you're here for schoolhouse apartments only, get out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all.
Good night.
All right, let's see. What else we got to talk about tonight? We get to the thing. Here's the agenda. And non-deliberative announcements and scheduling. Deb, you wanted to talk about extra meetings or something like that, but did we just take care of that?
Well, that's one in April, but for May, I just wanted to see if the board had any conflicts, if we add extra hearings only if we need to for May 10th, 24th, or 31st, just in case things come up. I'm kind of expecting filings to come in. Some of which I'm just going to want to give like one night to, like Kingham Street, Forest Street, when that comes in. That should probably have its own night.
I'm sorry, Deb, did you say for each of those or from among those?
Well, I think that depending on what the board votes, that each of those hearings should just be designated like one night on their own.
No, I'm sorry. I meant for each, did you mean scheduling something for each of the dates you mentioned?
No, just
Oh.
if things come up in order to schedule them. I just want to know if the board would have any conflicts with any of those dates, so I wouldn't schedule anything for them.
Mr. Galley, you are raising your hand. You got conflicts?
I'd like to avoid the 24th of May as a date for a scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
If it happens, it happens, but I'd really like to avoid it.
Right, is it your birthday? Is that your birthday? You going out with the wife for your birthday?
That's the night before our anniversary, so I need
oh,
to rest.
nice.
Oh, so maybe we should have a meeting and
Isn't that
celebrate their
special?
anniversary.
Yeah, if you have something that potentially is really long, Deb, you want to put it on?
Yeah, we should put it on that.
Yeah,
We should
right.
put it on that. Yeah.
Okay,
And we'll start at 4:30.
Yeah. You know, your address is public record. Don't do this to me.
No, of course, no, if we can, we'll avoid that. Well, I think we can avoid that. So any other things you want to talk about, Deb? Because I know again, it's scheduling is turning into a nightmare with everything that's coming in. I know this.
only if we want to like book extra tentative dates in June, but at this point, we really don't need to.
We have through July, correct? We have through July with Zoom at this point.
As far as I know, the first meeting in July, July 5th can be virtual. But
Okay.
at this point, July 19th, we may have to go in person.
Man, it means I gotta
So-
start wearing pants to these meetings.
Yeah. So,
All right.
as soon as I get an update on that, I'll let you know.
Dig it. Mr. Rubel, you're still here. Did you have anything you wanted to talk about in the non-deliberative announcements and scheduling?
Nope, I'm fine with everything, whatever you guys need. I can either do it here or I'll do it at my garage. I don't
Rock
have
and
a
roll, sir.
preference.
All right. Board members, anything else anybody needs to talk about under non-deliberative announcements?
How are we doing on minutes? Are we
Um,
catching up?
I'm working on them.
And we're technically still looking for some past minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll have to make some phone calls, find out how to deal with this, because, yeah. Okay. It is what it is. Anybody else have anything to talk about? Deb,
No, I'm good.
we're good at this point? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, got second, roll call, myself, yes. Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
and because Mr. Galley is gonna round out the fifth,
Yes.
we're out of here.
Thank you, everyone.
Rock and roll. Everybody,
Night,
thank you.